The illusion of waiting. Why we postpone life. Have you ever told yourself, someday, things will be better? Someday you'll start living fully. Someday you'll be happy, healed, at peace. Someday you'll have answers. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For most people, someday never comes. And it's not your fault, not entirely. We've been conditioned by religion, culture, and fear to wait. Wait for the right moment. Wait for salvation. Wait for permission to exist without guilt. We tell ourselves, when God decides, everything will change. Or when the world becomes fair, then I'll finally be free. But in the Gospel of Thomas, a text banned from the official Bible for centuries, Jesus says something radically different. If those who lead you say to you, look, the kingdom is in the sky, then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, it is in the sea, then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside you, and it is outside you. Gospel of Thomas, saying 3 in other words, stop waiting. Stop looking for the answer in some distant place or future time. You're wasting your life. The dangerous comfort of waiting. People find comfort in waiting because it removes responsibility. If you're waiting for someone else to fix your life, then failure isn't your fault, is it? Philosopher Erich Fromm, in his masterpiece Escape from Freedom, explains why people cling to this. Modern man still is anxious and tempted to surrender his freedom to dictators, or to lose it. By transforming himself into a small cog in the machine, we don't want to make hard decisions. We'd rather believe someone else. God, Jesus, the government, destiny will eventually solve our problems. That belief is spiritual procrastination. And like all procrastination, it has consequences. Real-world consequences of waiting. Let's look at real-life examples of what happens when people wait instead of act. The elderly woman who waits for her estranged son to call but never picks up the phone herself because it should come from him. She dies waiting. The man who stays in a toxic marriage, telling himself that God will fix it, he endures years of emotional abuse instead of taking the terrifying but necessary step to leave. The terminally ill patient who delays living fully, thinking they need to make peace with God first only to realize, too late, that living was the very thing God wanted. These are not just stories. They're realities happening every day, right now, in homes, hospitals, and quiet hearts around the world. Why the church didn't want you to read this. The Gospel of Thomas is one of the most controversial ancient texts ever discovered. It was hidden away for centuries, buried in the sands of Egypt, unearthed only in 1945 near Nag Hammadi. Why was it suppressed? Because its message is liberating but dangerous to institutions. If you don't need to wait for salvation, then you don't need intermediaries. You don't need priests, rituals, or authorities to tell you how to find God. Jesus, in Thomas's says, split a piece of wood. I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. Gospel of Thomas, saying 77. In other words, the sacred is everywhere. It is here, it is now. It is you. That's a threat to any system built on control. The psychological trap of waiting, psychologists call it temporal discounting. We prefer rewards in the future because they feel safer than taking risks today. But according to Dr. Philip Zimbardo, author of The Time Paradox, we are prisoners of time. Some live in the past, some in the future, but few live in the present. And when you're trapped in waiting, life passes by. Consider this tragic pattern. People wait until retirement to enjoy life and then get sick. People wait for a sign from God to forgive someone and die with resentment still in their hearts. People wait to start their dream because they're afraid to fail until the dream withers. A modern warning from Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl, survivor of the Nazi concentration camps and author of Man's Search for Meaning, saw this firsthand. He wrote, "Man is not destroyed by suffering, he is destroyed by suffering without meaning." When you wait too long, life starts to feel meaningless, and that leads to despair, depression, even suicide. What this chapter teaches is about exposing the trap of spiritual waiting. Jesus never told you to sit and wait for him to fix your life. In fact, in the Gospel of Thomas, his message is the opposite. Become passersby. Live fully. Move forward. Be awake. Don't get stuck. Right now, there's a child somewhere crying alone because their parents are too busy arguing over religion to love them. There's an elderly man sitting by a window, staring at a door that will never open. There's a woman on her knees praying for courage when courage was already inside her all along. Waiting kills, living saves. And that's the real message of Jesus and Thomas. Not to postpone life, but to engage it fully, fiercely, now. The lie we keep living. There's something tragic about the human condition that no one likes to admit. Most people aren't really living, they're postponing life. They postpone joy until they're thinner. Postpone love until they're healed. Postpone forgiveness until the other person deserves it. Postpone truth until it feels safe. This isn't philosophy, it's daily life. Right now, somewhere, a man is staring at a message he wrote to his father 5 years ago. He rewrites it every Christmas, every birthday, every Father's Day. He tells himself he's waiting for the right time. But the truth is, he's afraid of rejection. And one day, his father will die. the message will still be sitting there, -unsent.in. Another part of the world, a woman sits in a job she hates, scrolling through motivational videos during her lunch break. She knows she's wasting her life, but she tells herself, when God opens the door, then I'll leave. The door never opens. She never leaves. These are not mistakes, they're tragedies. And they happen because we've been taught a dangerous idea, that life will begin later, that the kingdom of heaven is coming someday, if we just hold on. But in one of the most forbidden texts ever written, the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says something that shatters this idea into pieces. The kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth, and people do not see it. Psychologists have studied this behavior. It's called existential procrastination, the habit of postponing the things that matter most. Be Gospel of Thomas. Saying 113, in other words, stop waiting. Heaven is not in the sky. It's not in the afterlife. It's not coming later. It's right here, and you're missing it. The inconvenient gospel. Why was this gospel hidden for nearly 2,000 years? Because it doesn't feed the system. It doesn't make you obedient. It makes you dangerous to those in power. If you believe that salvation is already present, then you stop being passive. You stop being controllable. This is not comfortable. It requires you to look at your life and ask, who taught me to wait for happiness? Who benefits from me staying quiet, compliant, afraid? What have I already lost while waiting for a sign that never came? Why this matters, now, right now. As you watch this video, 7,000 people across the world are taking their last breath. That's not a metaphor, it's a statistical fact. Most of them died with unfinished conversations, unlived dreams, and unspoken forgiveness still locked in their hearts. The question is, are you going to be one of them someday? This is not about religion. This isn't about whether you're a Christian, atheist, Buddhist, or nothing at all. It's about the pattern of postponement that ruins lives, relationships, and inner peace. Jesus, at least the Jesus of the Gospel of Thomas, tried to warn us about this. He didn't say, wait for me. He said essentially, wake up, the door is already open, but you're too busy staring at the sky to notice. What this video will do. In this video, we're going to explore why waiting for salvation is a form of self-sabotage, how the church, culture, and society profit from your procrastination, the real meaning of the Gospel of Thomas, stripped of fear and control, and finally, how modern science confirms what Jesus taught 2,000 years ago, that the mind is wired to trap us in delay, and how to break free. This is not going to be comfortable. It's going to be personal, because it's not just about ancient texts. It's about your life. There's a silent epidemic spreading across the world. It's not cancer, it's not war, it's not poverty, it's something quieter, but just as deadly: postponed life syndrome. No doctor will diagnose you with it, but look closely, and you'll see the symptoms everywhere. People staying in relationships that drain them because maybe one day it'll change. People forcing themselves into jobs they hate because God will show me a sign when it's time to leave. People suppressing their own voice because this isn't the right moment to speak what Jesus actually said, but we forgot. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says something radical, something the church rarely quotes from the pulpit. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. Gospel of Thomas. Saying 70, this isn't poetry, it's a warning. If you keep your truth buried, it rots inside you. If you wait too long to live, life will turn against you. Real life example. The unwritten book. Let's talk about Robert. Robert spent 30 years telling his friends he was going to write a book. He had the idea, he had the talent, he even bought the notebooks. But he always said, when the time is right, I'll start. Robert died at 62. The notebooks were still blank. Daughter found them while cleaning out his garage. She said, it's like my dad never existed on paper.